Hi, welcome to my video on the order of operations on monomials. Order of operations is defined by PEMDAS or bedmass, and the P and the B stands for brackets or brackets or parentheses, and the E stands for exponents. The MD and the DM is multiplication, division, left to right. And the A and the S stands for addition and subtraction, left to right. So this left to right means that as you move in a problem from left to right, whatever you encounter as you move, that's what you have to do first. So it could be multiplication then a division, or division and multiplication, etc. It could be an addition then a subtraction, etc., etc. So this is the order. You always do inside the brackets first, if there's any. Then you do the exponents second. Then you do multiplication, division from left to right. And then what's left is the addition, subtraction from left to right. So let's practice the order of operations on monomials. We did the order of operations on integers and rational numbers. Very important to know about the order of operations, because if you can't work at the right order, your math is wrong. A, we have 3 times 2x squared, so we have to do PEMDAS, P-E-M-D-A-S. We have to do the inside of the brackets first, but the inside of the brackets is already done. So we have to square. So that's 2x times 2x. So there's no bracket inside the brackets to do, so we do the exponent next. And when we do that, now you can multiply the 2x and the 2x. That's because we did the square first. So that gives us 2 times 2 is 4, x times x is x squared. So we have the exponent done. We do the squaring first. And then we multiply 3 by 4 to get 12x squared. B, we have PEMDAS again. Again, I write it down. I'm writing it down to show you, but if you keep it in your head and know what you're doing, it's perfect. So the inside of the brackets are done, so we don't have to do that, but we have to do our exponents. So we have to go 4x squared is 4x times 4x. And we have another exponent here, so it's x squared. But with this one, we can write it down twice, or we can move the power in through and get a 6. Because a power of a power we multiply. We could have done that here too, but we could have said that was 4 squared is 16, and x squared is x squared. Or we could have wrote it out twice. So either or, whatever way you want to do it. But notice I have the powers worked out. Now there's a multiplication understood to be in between. So 16 times 1 is 16. X squared times x6 is x to the 8. When we multiply exponentials with the same basis, we keep the base and we add the exponents. C, PEMDAS again, P-E-M-D-A-S. We have to do our exponents first, so let's go. And x squared squared, so 2 times 2 is 4, power of a power we multiply. And we have to do the exponent. Notice the inside is already done, so so we're doing our exponents. So 3 squared is 9, and x to the 4th squared is x to the 8th. So our powers are done. Now we have our exponents or powers done. Now we have to do multiplication division. So we have a multiplication here. So that's x to the 8th plus 9, x to the 8th. Notice when you multiply, you keep the base and add the exponents. Now that we have multiplication division all gone, we add. So that's a 1, understood. So that's 10 x to the 8th. Because when we add up the numbers and keep the literal coefficients. You can only add like terms. D, PEMDAS, P-E-M-D-A-S. Here we go. We have to do the inside the brackets, but the inside of the brackets is already done, so that's okay. So we have to do our exponents, this one first. So we write down 7x squared y to the 0, subtract 5x squared is 5 squared is 25, and x times x is x squared, where that's a 1, 2 times 1 is 2. So notice I did my exponent first. Now I'm ready to handle the rest of the problem. That's it says multiplication division left to right. That's a bullet term. That's okay, but we have to do this one first before we do anything. So let's write down the rest of the problem. And we multiply 2 times 5 is 10, and x times x is x squared. So multiplication division is done. And I notice that I have to simplify this term. Y to the 0 is a 1. So really, that's 7x squared minus 25 plus 10x squared. So notice y to the 0 is 1, and 7x squared times 1 is 7x squared. So I could have just scratched that out there and put a 1 without writing all that down. But I wrote it down anyway. And all the terms are the same, so I got an x squared. So 7 subtract 25, so that's add on negative 25, so that's negative 18. Negative 18 and add on 10 is a negative 8, so you get a negative 8x squared. And we have to do PEMDAS again because we're doing the order of operations. We always simplify the polynomial. Now we have to do the inside of this bracket because we got a lot of information in here. So here we go. And if we want, we could group these together, but we want to do it fast. We just do this. They go together to get a 5 because that's a 1 right there. And they go together to give me 0. So that's a 0. So I can do that. I can move that around, as in I could have done 4x add on x plus 2 minus 2 and rearranged it. But when things are simple, just say I got to add these. So I'm going to add my like terms in my head because they're not a lot of work. Now I have to, I have the inside the brackets done. Now I got to do my exponent. So 5x squared, 5 squared is 25, 5, and x squared is x times x is x squared. So that's done. F, PEMDAS again, P-E-M-D-A-S. And I have to do the brackets are done inside. Inside here is done, so that's okay. I have to do my exponents. So I have to, negative 2 cubed is negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2, that's negative 8. And I have to go with a power of a power. I have to do this. So 2 times 3 is 6. And 4 times 3 is 12, because that's a power of a power. Now that's a multiplication there, so negative 8 times that is negative 8x6y12. And I got a PEMDAS again. Lots of practice. The more practice you can do, the better you get. And not only that, when you make a mistake, you find out what your mistake is. I can go back to this problem right here that I wrote out one step at a time. And if I make an error, I can get the teacher or myself or a student to go through and see where the error is. And once I find the error, I say, okay, I'll remember. Try not to make that again. Here we go. The inside the brackets are done, simplified and simplified. So that's okay. I got to do the exponents. So x squared all squared is x to the 4 power of a power. Negative 5x. And I have no exponent right there, so we leave that alone. So notice I did my exponent on this one first. That's done. Now I got to do multiplication division. So that's a multiplication there, and that's a multiplication there. So I will do this multiplication. 6 times x to the 4th. Easy. Negative times a negative. I could go plus a negative, but I don't have to. I just say that's a negative 5 times that is a positive 20x to the 4. That's a 1. That's a 3. You add. And to the same terms, I can only add like terms. So that's like terms x to the 4th. 6 plus 20 is 26. H, PEMDAS. Okay, if you look, I got all divisions. So when you divide 10 by 2, you get 5. When you divide, you subtract. When you multiply, you add. Like where? When you add, right here. When you multiply these two, 1 plus 1 is 2. So when you divide, you subtract 4. That's a 1. 4 subtract 1 is 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 5 subtract 3 is 2. And 6 divided by 6 is 1. Well, I leave it out. The 1 is understood. And 7 take away 5 is 2. And notice I have all like terms. So if you think about it, that's a 1 there. I'll put it there for you. I said it wasn't, but just to make sure. Common, these are all like, no, they're not like terms. That's a cube. That's a square, and that's a square. So I have no more x cubed, so that's 5x cubed. These are two like terms, so 3 plus 1 is 4. So you got to be careful. Keep saying the same thing over and over and over. I can only add like terms, so these are the only two I can combine. And PEMDAS again, PEMDAS. And I have inside is fully simplified. And I have no exponents on the outside of the brackets, so that's done. Now I do multiplication division from left to right. Whoop, I got to go all the way through. This is the last one. So I got a multiplication, a multiplication, a multiplication, a multiplication. And I got a subtraction and a multiplication. So if you want, the double negative is a positive. Good. Let's get rid of that. And now I look through and I do multiplication. So I'm just going to underline that one. That's a multiplication. That's a multiplication. That's a multiplication. And that's a multiplication. So I have to do all them multiplications first. And if I want, I can add on the negative, but I'll just leave that alone. I could go plus negative 5. Let's multiply. 2 times 1 is 2, x cubed. That's a 1. 1 plus 2 is multiply. 4 times 3 is 12, x squared. That's a negative 5 times 4, so that's a negative 20. So if I want to go plus a negative, but you should begin to get that I don't have to do plus negatives all the time. The only time you should do plus negative is really when you're subtracting polynomials and you're changing a lot of terms. But that's your choice. Multiply 1 times 6 is 6, x times x is x squared. Multiply. 3 times 5 is 15, and that's x. 2 plus 1 is 3. Now I look for my like terms. So let's group my like terms together. So that's a cube. Any cubes? Yep, right there. Now I got a x squared, so write that one down. Any more x squareds? Yep, right there. And I have a negative 20x. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got them all. And they're in descending order, notice. When you add, you keep the literal coefficient, like terms, and you get a 17. And you get 12 and 6 is 18, x squared, because they're like terms. You add them up and keep the x squared, and a negative 20x. So that's a bit of practice. So, again, extremely important to follow the order of operations. Be careful. And we have practice, means pause the video and work all these out and see if you're going to get the right answer. That gives you a chance to see if you know what you're doing. Here we go. Number 1, we have to do PEMDAS. PEMDAS. So we have to do the inside the bracket first. Already done. 2x, can't simplify any further. So we're going to cube. We're going to do the power in x. We can't multiply negative 5 by 2x because we have to do the exponent first. So 2 cubed is 8, and x cubed. So 2x times 2x times 2x is 8x cubed. Now we have the exponent done. We have to multiply negative 40x cubed. And we got a PEMDAS again, PEMDAS. And we have to do inside the brackets. Okay, I see something That's okay. That's all right. But if you notice right here, the inside of this, that's y to the 0. And y to the 0 is 1. So if that's a 1, 4x times 1 is 4x. Remember, y to the 0 is 1. So if you put a 1 there, or think about it, that's a 1, so that's 4x times 1, which is 4x. So I have the inside of the bracket simplified. Now we have to do exponent next. So we have to square this, we get a 9. So write the rest of it down, take your time. Now we got 9 times 2xy times 4x. So let's multiply left to right. 9 times 2 is 18 times 4 and 72. And we get xy times x is x squared y, because you multiply this term, xy, by x. So your x is, that's adding 1 plus 1 is 2, and the y is 1. And so that one is done. P-E-M-D-A-S. The inside the brackets are already done, so that's okay. Now I will work out the powers. I'm going to work out the powers. 3x squared is 3x times 3x is 9x squared. Done. 2x cubed is 2x times 2x times 2x, that's 8x cubed. Now we got to do multiplication and division. So there's a multiplication and there's an addition, so I will multiply these two first. 7 9s are 63, and that's a 1, and x times x squared is x cubed. And write down the last term. And are these terms alike? Yes, so that's x cubed. And 63 and 8 is 71. That one is done. Oops. P-E-M-D-A-S, PEMDAS. The inside of this one is okay. The inside of this one is all right. The inside of this one is okay. So inside the brackets are okay. Now I have to do any exponents. No exponent there. Only a 1, and a 1. So don't have to worry about that. Now I have to do multiplication, division, left to right. So let's see. I have to do that multiplication and that multiplication, and I have to do this division. So there we go. Negative 12x squared. 2 times that is a positive 6x squared. And when I divide, negative divided by positive is a negative. And 4 divided by 1 is 4. X cubed divided by x, you subtract the exponents, you get an x squared. And again, they're all the same terms. And we get negative 12 plus 6 is negative 6. Negative 6 and negative 4 is negative 10. Now, if you want to go plus negatives, go ahead. But really, negative 12 and negative 4, you're adding them up. That's to subtract means that's the same as saying is negative. So it's negative 16 and 6 is negative 10, either way. PEMDAS, P-E-M-D-A-S. Do I, inside the brackets, is 3x and 2x. Done. Any exponents? Nope. There's a 1 there and a 1 there. So now I do multiplication, division, left to right. So that's a multiplication, that's a division, that's a multiplication, that's a division. And again, you could add on the opposite, but that's a plus negative 7. So I'm going to leave it like that. Here comes the multiplication, division. Multiply, and I get 12x. Divide, 8 divided by 4 is 2, and the x's cancel. And that's a negative 7 times 2x is negative 14x. And that's a negative 10 divided by 2 is negative 5, and the x's cancel. And I add my like terms. Now if I want to, I could group these together, but here they are. Notice when I'm moving them, I do not change these signs. So that's 12x, and that's negative 14, that's a plus 2, that's a minus 5. So after you rearrange them, you keep the same signs. And That's a negative 14, and 12 is negative 2. You could go plus negative. That's 2, subtract 5 is negative 3. That's a plus negative also. Try not to keep using plus negatives until you can really get used to it. But if you want to do plus negatives, go ahead. PEMDAS, PEMDAS. That's done on the inside, can't do any more, and that's fully done. So let's do our exponents. Ooh, let's see what we have here. A half squared. Half times a half is a quarter. X to the 4 times x to the 4 is x to the 8. 2/3 x to the 5. And we have to cube this. 3 cubed, 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. And x times x times x is x cubed. So our exponents are done. Now we have to multiply and divide. Multiply, multiply. So I'll multiply from left to right. 12 times 1/4, 4, and the 12 goes 3. So that gives me 3x to the 8. 3 into 27 goes 9. 2 9s is 18, so negative 18x to the 8. Again, we have like terms, so we can add x to the 8. 3 subtract 18 is negative 15. Again, that's a plus negative. And PEMDAS again, PEMDAS, lots of practice. Can I work out inside the brackets? No. Do I have any exponents on the top of the brackets? These are exponents, but do you have any exponents that's outside of the brackets on the top? No. So we have to multiply and divide from left to right. Divide, 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 and multiply. So let's do them from left to right. Negative 5 x to the 2 plus 2. X squared divided by x is x. The y's cancel. 60 divided by 30 is 2. X to the 2. We subtract the exponents. And 5 times 2x is 10x. We have them all simplified. Now we add and subtract from left to right. Like terms. If you want, you can group these together. I will. Be consistent. It just takes a little bit longer to write down. Like that. I'm grouping them and I don't change the signs. And I add, I get a negative 3 and 2 is negative 5 and 2 is negative 3x squared. And 2x and 10x is 12x. Remember, when you can only add like terms. And when you do, you keep the literal coefficient. Keep the x and add the numbers. You could have omitted this step right here if you want, if you're working a test and working fast, that you could have just looked at these two and said, they're like, I'll add them and get the negative 3. They're the same, I'll add them and get a 12, omitting this step. But only when you know what you're doing do you want to omit this step. Keep practicing the same way all the time. Here we go. Inside the brackets, done, done, done. Can't do it. Exponents, here we go. Negative cubed, negative times a negative is a negative. 3 cubed is 3 times 3 times 3, 27. And x times x times x is x cubed. And I'm going to leave the rest alone until I get my exponents done. And my exponents are done. So I'm writing all this down again. And when you begin to know what you're doing, you could have worked out this and worked out this and worked out this because your exponent is done. So now I go through and say, I got to divide, I got to multiply, and I got to multiply. I'm not touching 27x cubed. Leave that alone. Negative 4x squared plus 4 times 1 is 4x cubed. Multiply negative 3x squared. All done. And again, I'm going to take, nope, I'm not. I'm going to follow what I preached. Group the like terms. There's the like terms grouped together. You put the cubes alongside of each other in the squares. Negative 27 and 4 is negative 23x squared. And negative 4 and negative 3 is negative 7x. So that's a negative 27x cubed because you add like terms. And that's a negative negative 23x cubed, sorry, and a negative 7. Notice that's a plus a negative and plus a negative if you want, but negative 4 and negative 3 is negative 7. And that's done. So, practicing the order of operations is extremely important. I did many examples here, so hope you enjoyed the video. If you did and you want to subscribe to my channel, click on the subscribe button. If you're not already a subscriber, click on the like button and the notification bell because there's more videos coming. And write a comment if you wish, and visit my math website, www.mathfullyexplained.com. And I got 3 sections. One is on me, degrees and teaching experience. The one on video tells you the strategies you're going to use to help you learn your math. And the one on content tells you about the topics I have on my YouTube channels and the number of videos on each of the topics. And the black font is what's already online on my YouTube channel. The red font is the one that I'll be doing in the near future. That's why you got to click your notification bell because there's more videos coming. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.